What's going on, everybody? My name is Ryan. Thank you guys for checking out this video. This is going to be about my dad's 57 Chevy. He bought this car 24 years ago. Pulled the body off of the frame to do the floors. It needed full floors, inner rockers, floor braces. He pulled the car apart and just never got around to it. The car was sitting for the last 22, 23 years on the rotisserie. And then back in January, I ended up taking the car, told him that I was going to store it in my house, and we basically just started getting to work. I bought a complete frame with an engine, trans, and rear, and started cutting the floor out of the car. And in 6 months, we had the car back to him for Father's Day, and he got to drive it for the very first time. Unfortunately, I didn't film any of the work that I did. I wanted to when I first started, and we got the car back, and I just started cutting the thing apart and diving in. So I'm going to go through some of the pictures that I took, and just a brief, short description of what was done, and then you'll get to see his reaction at the very end and him driving the car for the first time. So thank you guys for checking it out, and hope you enjoy it. Alright, so first up, this is what we started with. This was the first time this car had been out of the garage in a very long time. Obviously still on the rotisserie, and this was the start of it all. So this is the frame that I ended up picking up. I got this from a guy in New Jersey that had ended up going to an aftermarket, I think it was a roadster shop, spec chassis. So he didn't have a need for this anymore. Complete 57 dated 283 cast iron power glide, rear diff, still had drum brakes, manual steering, but it was a start, and the guy claimed that it was running driving when he got rid of it. So got that back to my buddy's house. I ended up storing it there for a little bit while I was working on the car, and the first thing I did was start cutting the floor out. This was by far the messiest part of the entire process. I could not believe how much debris actually came off this car. But we got the entire floor cut out. A few of the channels where the floor actually welds to the quarter and the rocker panels themselves were a little damaged. So we ended up bending up some new panels, getting that welded in, and just getting all the flanges and mating surfaces cleaned and ready to be welded on. This is it pretty much after all the cutting and grinding was done. All the flanges along the rockers, the toe board, and then where it meets up to the trunk pan in the back were all cleaned, ground down, and prepped to be welded to. So ended up getting a complete one-piece floor from, I think it was Golden Star was the brand. A little nervous about getting a repop panel, but it actually fit surprisingly well. Once we were ready to put it in, we actually laid the floor on the support rails of the rotisserie and then lifted it up into place using RV jacks. So this is the floor basically in position. Nothing welded yet, but we got it where everything lined up and it fit nicely. You could also see in this picture the braces that I welded in between the door frames and both inner quarter panels, just to make sure that everything stayed square without that support of the floor being in there. Trunk pan had been done a number of years ago. That was actually one of the first things that he had done after the body was taken off the frame. So that was all good metal. I just cleaned it up and put a fresh coat of primer on it. What do we have next? This is just the underside of the car. I ended up painting the floor and the trunk with Pour 15. It actually came out really nice. For applying it with a brush, I was pretty impressed how it looked after. This is the day we lifted the body back onto the frame for the first time in a very long time. You could also see in this photo, I ended up taking the 283 apart. Went to do an oil change on it, and there was a ton of water in the oil pan. So I don't know if it popped the head gasket or if this thing was left outside and took water on. So we ended up just taking it apart, putting a fresh set of gaskets in it, and getting that all set up. Engine also got a fresh coat of paint here. The intake was cleaned up, just to make it look presentable when it was in the car. Also ended up doing a disc brake conversion with 2-inch drop spindles. Found somebody locally that had a set of those used, so that worked out really well. And this car also received a power rack and pinion. So this picture here is pretty much after we got the stance where we wanted it. Also ended up doing a driver's side rocker panel on the outside because it looked like somebody had jacked the car up by the old one numerous times. It was in pretty bad shape. So yeah, after this it was just hanging front end sheet metal and just buttoning up the last couple things, and ended up taking this car for its first drive at about 10 o'clock at night, the day before Father's Day. So there really wasn't much time to iron out any issues, but thankfully it made it around the block without any issues. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It was 6 months of working on this thing, pretty much every spare chance that I got between work and everything else. If I had half an hour here, an hour there, it was just come out to the garage and just try and get another thing checked off the list. So yeah, I guess we'll get to the reveal video. Again, this was given back to him on Father's Day, almost 6 months to the day that the car was taken from him. And this first drive is the first time he has ever driven the car in his entire 24 years of ownership. So again, guys, thank you for checking the video out, and enjoy this video.
You're right, they don't have the hood.
I don't know how to get out.
Does it look familiar? Hi.
What the hell did you do? Happy Father's Day. Oh, God, why? What did you do? What did you do? I just tightened a few bolts and it started.
What did you do? What did you do?
Holy God Almighty.
You got to be constant all this time, and today you have to go out there and go, where's my door?
He's like, where are my doors?
Did you know it had this color paint underneath?
I gotta sit in this car.
Like, you're not going to drive it?
Is she legal? No. She runs and drives and stops?
She's never stopped us before.
She's rode it from Red Wing.
You have to stop on an uphill.
Wait, is there anything you need to check about?
Wait, his glasses, though.
Wait, your glasses are on top, Mike.
I'll be right back. Reverse. All the way down.
Right,
All the way back. You'll hear it engage, and it has a tilt column in it.
Go
that's definitely one of the coolest things I've ever done, and it was totally worth all of the, you know, time and energy that was spent, you know, going into that car. He still talks about it every time I see him. He's always talking about the car, what he's going to do next, and thankfully, since he's gotten it back, he's actually started. You know, I think it kind of remotivated him to work on the car. So there's definitely going to be more of that car on this channel. We'll have some updates on that coming soon, and some of the other cars that I own that I'm going to be working on. So if you guys did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate you subscribing and checking out some of the other stuff that we have going on.